the oath and pursuant to the provisions of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, it constitutes contempt of the National Assembly to knowingly withhold, misrepresent, or conceal any information relevant to the committee's work. You are also advised that in accordance with parliamentary privileges, any statement or testimony provided before this committee shall not be used against you in any court of law, except in cases of perjury. That is where it is proven that you knowingly or deliberately provided false information while under oath. You are therefore expected to cooperate fully and provide truthful, accurate, and complete response to all questions posed to you, whether by the committee's legal counsel or by honorable members of the committee. The committee appreciates your presence and expects your utmost candor and cooperation throughout the proceeding. Thank you so very much, Mr. Witness. Mr. Gassama, you're welcome. We will not waste time because we expect. I think you had a statement already. All right, I will shift it straight to counsel to proceed with the witness testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. If the Secretariat can administer the oath, please.
I, Mamadou El Gassama, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly swear that the evidence I shall give before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth. So help me Allah.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Can you please pull the mic closer to you and turn it on? Thank you. Please state your name, full name, and designation for the record.
I am Mamadou El Gassama, Mamadou Lamin Gassama, Director of Department of Parks and Wildlife Management.
Right. Thank you. Before we get into your testimony, please confirm the following for us. Did you receive a summons to produce documents to this committee?
No.
You did not receive any letter?
I received a letter, but not to produce any document.
Not to produce any document?
No.
Did you receive a summons asking you to come make a statement to the investigators?
Yes.
And a summons to come and testify?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Where do we start now, Honorable Chair? Mr. Gassama, can you please state for the record when you started or assumed office as the Director of the Department of Parks and Wildlife?
I was appointed on the 14th of April 2014 as the Director.
Okay. Before we get into your testimony, for purposes of clarity, kindly give a brief overview of the mandate of the Department of Parks and Wildlife.
Thank you, ma'am. Department of Parks and Wildlife is a state entity or government entity responsible for the management of wildlife estate in the country. What I mean by wildlife estate is all free-ranging vertebrates in the country, being it in situ or ex situ, meaning those who are in captivity or in protected areas and those who are on free range. That's what we refer to as wildlife estate. This can include aerial, arboreal, terrestrial, and marine species.
Thank you. Mr. Gassama, as you are aware, you've been issued a summons to come and testify here before the Special Select Committee regarding the wildlife that was supposedly owned by the former president. Good. So, as you're aware, when the former president was ousted in July 2017, the government of the Gambia established a commission of inquiry to look into the assets of the former president, his family, and his associates. Prior to the establishment of the commission, the government took some measures to safeguard and preserve the assets of the former president prior to the investigations. And one of these efforts included instituting a suit at the High Court of the Gambia to preserve all assets, be it movable or immovable. In so doing, the High Court issued an order on the 22nd of May 2017. And amongst the orders sought by the government and also obtained was that all wildlife owned by the former president was to be vested in the custody and control of the Department of Parks and Wildlife. Are you aware of this court order?
Thank you, Mom. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware of this order. I only had it there on Thursday when I met the investigators here. That they told me an order was made, but unfortunately, we've never been given this order and we've not been informed.
Very well. So since Thursday, did you make any effort to try to see whether this said order was ever served to the department or to your ministry?
I checked with our records in the department, but unfortunately there was never any mail from ministry, neither from the ministry or from AG chambers to that effect.
Very well. If the Secretariat can show the witness emoji 5A. Honorable Chair, maybe we give your witness a minute or two to take a look at the order. Mr. Kasama?
Yes, ma'am.
To aid you, you can go to the second page of the document and look at paragraph 5.
5, yes. I've seen it, but unfortunately this is the first time I'm seeing this.
Very well. We will get to the contents of that order. Honorable Chair, Mr. Kasama gave a statement to the investigators last week, and if you can just adopt it and have it marked as exhibit. If we can mark it as DPW1. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mr. Kasama, if you can just read paragraph 5 of the order. Read it out loud for the committee, please.
Yeah. That all the wildlife and other animals held by or in possession or control of the respondent, his servant, agents, associate, and family members, or otherwise, howsoever be and are hereby seized pursuant to this order and are to be kept under the custody and control of the Gambia Wildlife Service pending the conclusion of the investigation initiated by the Attorney General.
Thank you. Now that you've stated that this is the first time you come across this order,
yes,
I think we can get into your testimony proper.
Yes. Can I take a shot of this, please? Can I snap it?
Don't worry, we can give you a copy later at the end of your testimony.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Mr. Kasamo,
Yes, ma'am.
from your statement, you stated that the Department of Parks and Wildlife, even though they are not aware or have never been aware of the court's order issued on the 22nd of May 2017, did take up the initiative on its own accord to take care of the wildlife that is in Canelai. How did the department come about to make that decision?
As I mentioned in my beforehand, that is it's our responsibility to be in charge of wildlife that is in the Gambian territory here. But under the circumstance at the time of these animals coming into the Gambia, some of them are coming, they have been imported without our knowledge around at the time. But and since Janneh left, because I'm quite familiar with issues at Canelai when he was even here. We used to go there and come back and ended up training some of them, try to separate wildlife from livestock because of zoonotic disease transmission. They all require the same physiological needs. So whatever affects wildlife will naturally affect livestock. So in doing so, I'm quite familiar with this. And we have seen a lot of social media reports that animals are dying in Canelai, they are really starving and so forth. Animals, wildlife, they are like my own children. If you're here, you heard that your kids are playing or dying or being shot somewhere, you'll be concerned to go and check. It's precisely based on this that we went to check to find out exactly what is happening to these animals. And we did a smart move doing so, in our view, because doing that has really given an impetus in saving the animals that are in there. Because there was a little bit of a chaos. Who is in charge of these animals? They are not being trained. They are just there hanging in and being asked to look after these animals. So once we are there, what I did first was to contact Gambia Horse and Donkey, this at Makasutu, because the one running, Dr. Heda, is Mr. Brewer's daughter. Brewer was our mentor when we started work. Mr. Brewer was the director of wildlife then, about some 35 years ago. And we had a discussion that for them to help us to train these animal keepers in Canelai in a little bit of animal husbandry, at least they can have a basic baseline in how to care about these animals. So based on this, we have sent all the people in Canelai who can read and write to Makasutu to be trained in basic wildlife techniques. And over and beyond that, I have also realized that the best thing to do, in our opinion, is to offer them job security. Because when I ask, I understand they have been given allowance, but they have no salary. So I decided to employ about 8 of them, who I can prove to me that they are bona fide Gambian with all the Gambian documents, and we have given them grade 1 positions. And at the time, the species we found there were hyenas, wildebeest, hyenas, Dabi eland, zebra, hundreds of crocs, and some snakes. So over this period of time, these people, we train them until they know basic wildlife management. And since then, we've been doing our best, try to aid and abet them in keeping these animals in check so that we can feed them with the basic food that we can. And to our credit, the zebra population has increased from 12 to 16, and it's the only place you can find zebra in the country. The eland, 2 are female. Unfortunately, they could not breed. Snakes, 2 are there, but that's on the custody of soldiers, not our people. And crocodiles too, we have hundreds of them. Some are so huge.
Thank you, Mr. Kasama, for that. You've mentioned that even before President Janneh left this country or lost the elections in 2016, you've been aware of the situation of the wildlife in Canelai.
Yes.
Can you tell this committee what species of wildlife were available in Canelai during President Janneh's time?
The species, once I have seen some species there that I did not see them again in 2017, which is some, there I saw a couple of dozens of ostrich in there. And I was told there's wildebeest. I have seen the tracks, but I have not physically identified or seen them. And I understand from rumors that there are other species in there. But basically, when Janneh was leaving, or when he left, immediately when he left, these are the species that are in there. They are the same species that are still in there. Except the 2 hyenas were 5, then 2 died over this period of time. But the rest of other species are in there.
So my question is, before Janneh left the country, you said the department was aware of the wildlife that was available in Canelai and that the department used to visit Canelai occasionally. Whilst President Janneh was still around, what species of wildlife were available apart from the ostrich and wildebeest?
Aside, these are the zebra, derby eland, crocs. Those are the species that are still in there.
By crocs, you mean crocodiles?
Crocodiles, yeah.
Thank you.
I can identify 2 species of crocodile. They are all male crocodile, but some are they are exotic. They are not Gambian species. They can weigh close to a ton, and they can move me in 2 minutes. Then I'll be normal. They are very huge. They can be 22 foot long. They are very, very huge.
Hopefully that never happens.
They are still in there.
Okay, so can you remember the number of each, like the ostriches, how many ostriches were around before the president left in 2016, and the other species?
Unfortunately, we did not do any index counting of these species because our visits time to time are quite controlled. Access is a problem. Even if you go there, me with my position, I have seen quite a number of guys there, even the commander there, I was involved in training him in the military. But when you go there, access is a problem. Access was quite a challenge for us. And if you go there, you advise them do this, they will do something else, and you cannot argue with anybody. I think everyone knows the circumstances and the conditions under which we are operating around that time.
Okay. Who was the commander at the time then?
When Janneh left, it was somebody I could not remember, but then immediately after that, Colonel Krubali was there, Ibrahim Krubali, that we relate to a lot. He has been very helpful for us looking at that animal. But we've been dealing with Savage, we've been dealing with quite a number of guys who were there.
Are they still there?
No, because I think they keep on changing camp commanders quite often. Those we know, there's somebody there who has been there. I've never met him, but my guys will tell me he's still there, called Pahali, who has been dealing with the local staff on the ground.
Sorry, can you state the name again?
I think it's Pahali.
Pahali.
Pahali, whether it's a major or captain, I don't know what his rank is.
Thank you. So after the change of government in 2017, When did the Department of Parks and Wildlife visit Canelai to take stock of or inventory of the wildlife available there?
We have taken stock of the species that are countable, that we can physically count. But for crocodiles, we cannot count them, but we know they are in hundreds because they are difficult to count. We do count, sample counting, we extrapolate that sample. But then what we can count, what we counted was zebra, was there fixed. Eland, the same pair. Crocs, hyena, the type of species we have called kurkuta, these are spotted hyenas. We count them, they are physically verifiable, they are in captivity, and so forth. For zebras, until now, and Derby eland are not in captivity in a small comma, but they are within the general area of the park, because the whole Canelai game park is fenced. The crocs are in 3 pools, and they are still in the same 3 pools.
When was the last time the department conducted an inventory of the wildlife?
Unfortunately, we didn't do any proper inventory of wildlife, because once you do inventory of wildlife, what it means in ecological terms means you have to look at their feeding, you have to look at the habitat condition, you have to look at their health conditions, all those details. We did not. We only physically identify these animals are here, the species who are here, then we can identify, we count them. But we didn't do any census or any inventory of these species per se.
Does that mean that the department does not have accurate figures of the wildlife in Canelai?
No, we would say no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So according to your statement, paragraph 8, bullet point 2, do you have a copy of your statement?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Are you on that page?
Yes, please.
You said there are 16 zebras now.
Yes.
As opposed to when you started caring for them, there were 12.
Yes.
If you did not conduct an inventory, an accurate inventory, how did you come up with these figures?
I don't know which term would be appropriate to use this one, but then if you do inventory of the Canelai game park, we'll be looking at not only these mammals, because those are the ones we count, and reptiles, which is crocodiles and snakes. It will go far beyond that. That means we'll have to physically count every species that is in the park. We have done this one just for our own records, because since we don't know we don't know who owns Canelai per se, whether it still belongs to the Janneh family or not.
There's not currently an issue right now, the ownership of Canelai. So we're just, for your testimony today, it's restricted to the wildlife that is currently existing in Canelai. And we want to know for certain the figures of the different species of wildlife that is available in Canelai right now, today. So when was the last time, I think I asked you this, but it needs to be more clear. When was the last time the Department of Parks and Wildlife visited Canelai?
We still have an existing staff component unit in Canelai.
Okay.
Yeah, meaning even from this, as I'm sitting here, when I call, they can tell me the number of these species that are in there. That's zebra, eland, and hyena. For crocs, we are estimating them to be in several hundreds, but we couldn't definitely say they are 300, 400, 500, because they keep on breeding and they are very prolific in breeding. But what we can say is, we can tell anybody, even with this commission, that if you go to Canelai tomorrow, unless these animals are dead, you will find this number in there. That is, you'll find 16 zebra there, you'll find 2 Derby eland in there, you'll find 3 hyenas in there, and you'll find several hundred crocs in there.
Very well.
Figure we have.
Can you remember the exact date the department took over custody and control of the wildlife in 2017, the first time the department went after the change of government?
We did not take in charge of wild animals in there. The Canelai Game Park is under the soldiers until today.
It's under the
Military.
Okay.
So we try to find a workable, amicable solution or amicable way of working with them so that we look after the animal species in there. And by doing that means Janneh family, they are also participating in this.
How is the Janneh family participating in this?
Sometimes if we have carcass animals somewhere that we need a vehicle to go and pick that animal to come and feed them, we normally seek help from Janneh's elder brother in there, Araba Janneh.
When you say in there, where do you mean?
I mean, in the facility of Canelai Game Park.
So this Araba Janneh is staying at the game park?
Yes, where these animals are, that's why he's staying.
Thank you. The employees of the Department of Parks and Wildlife, you said earlier in your testimony that they were employees of the former president who were being given allowances but have now been absorbed into the Department of Parks and Wildlife, and they're currently working at the Canelai Game Park. How and when were they absorbed into the department?
They were, not all of them were absorbed at the same time. I think we started in 2018 or 2019. Precisely, I wouldn't be able to say the exact date until I consult the records. But then what we did was, what we thought was a smart move was, these people were with Janneh looking after these animals. So we thought it was only reasonable and it makes sense before we can pick somebody from here and say, go and manage this place in Canelai. If you're a stranger, you wouldn't know the history of this, and it's important you know the history of the place to ensure continuity. So this is why we observe these people over time based on our the number of vacancies that we have from PMO, so that we can observe them and we can continue to give these services until at a time that the fate of Canelai can be decided by the government. If it's been given to the Department of Parks and Wildlife, then we will have to employ more seasoned officers in there. If not, then if it's been given private to someone else, then we'll have to see how to move these people from there and integrate them into other protected areas around the country.
Very well. You also stated in your statement and earlier also in your testimony that there are two large pythons currently at the Canelai Game Park.
Right.
But you said they are not under the custody of the department.
No.
Can you explain to this committee why this is the case?
To be honest with you, when we went there, we found somebody there who is dedicated looking after these two pythons, and is the one who has been caring for them over all these years. There are a lot of myths and there are a lot of beliefs about those snakes. So we don't want to disturb their cultural activities. That's why we let this continue to go with these snakes. Because our people are not used to capturing these snakes. We know pythons are not very harmful snakes because they don't bite. Yeah, they can only kick and they can strangle you and stretch you dead, but they will not bite you.
They wouldn't bite?
No, they wouldn't bite.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but they can kick you hard because it's all contraction of muscle. Yeah.
Have they kicked you before?
Yes, I was once knocked down by one. That was, I think, in 1991 or 92.
What about that?
Yeah.
When you were stating the functions and mandate of the Department of Parks and Wildlife,
right,
you did state that it's partly to manage wildlife in the country of different species, right?
Right.
So why is it that, I understand you said that there are cultural beliefs surrounding these two pythons at Canelai,
Yes.
But it seems to me that these two pythons also fall under the mandate of the Department of Parks and Wildlife.
Yes.
So why hasn't the department taken a responsibility for these pythons?
That's an important question. In game management, sometimes we take into account of the cultural beliefs of other people who have something to do with wildlife. Because if...
Sorry, Mr. Kasama, can you pull the mic closer to you or maybe move your chair? Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying,
thank you.
The cultural value or artistic value of wildlife is important in game management, because sometimes you don't want to upset the balance of game management, because wildlife management is all about human exploitation or human use of wildlife. That is important. But to be honest, with these two pythons, I have catch one myself. I don't know if I have it in my phone here, that it coils over here and it coils over on my chest. But then what they do with this, whatever spiritual things they do with this, I wouldn't know, and I don't know. So we don't want to offset that balance. If the game park is 100% returned to us, yeah, the game park is 100% returned to us, two things we may do. We may end up moving these animals. When we talk to the family, they cede it to us. We can either come and raise them back in Abuko Nature Reserve, or we can take them to snake farming in Katong for public viewing.
Very well. Earlier you mentioned again, and going back to the 8, did you call them rangers? The 8 employees?
Yes.
Yes, the 8 rangers that the department absorbed.
Right.
Did the department ever think about absorbing these, did you say 2 gentlemen that are taking care of the pythons?
No, it's one.
One, yes.
It's a serving military, it's a serving soldier.
He's a serving soldier?
Yes.
Do you know his name?
No.
Okay.
That's a local name, I don't know his name yet.
All right. But did the department ever try to find a way to absorb this soldier into its, as an employee of the department, so that they can have, so the department can supervise and have a say in how the pythons are being cared for?
No, ma, we never tried one, because one classical example is the crocodile pool in Bakau. Those are semi-wild crocodiles. I was born in Bakau, and I found those crocs there. Likewise, even my mom was born there, she found these crocs in there. But there's a family that looks after those crocs in there. So similarly, I think the same thing may happen here. Like in Abuko Nature Reserve, the pool there, it belonged to a particular family in Lameng called the Janneh family. They believe there was Ninkinanka there in historical days. This is why the pool was there. It was never dried up. Water from that place was the water that was feeding Gambia before, around the Greater Banjul area here. That's why they call pipeline, because the pipe was shipping water from pool in Abuko. So similarly, these are cultural things that we didn't just offset. Sometimes people of Lameng come and do idol worshipping in Abuko Nature Reserve, but we need them to go and make those prayers. But for me, I'm a Jahanga, I don't do that. I have nothing to do with those things. So these are the things that we don't want to offset that balance. If you do, sometimes you may end up creating some things that you may not like.
I see. Thank you for that history lesson, by the way. So can we go to paragraph 10 of your statement?
Right.
In that paragraph, you've mentioned a budget for the Canelai Game Park and for Abuko Nature Reserve as well. Does that budget cover the pythons as well?
No, unfortunately, I think it was not properly drafted. What I mentioned here is my monthly allocation from Ministry of Finance to Department of Parks and Wildlife Management. So it's out of our benevolence that we sometimes zip some of our animal feed to help Canelai. We don't have any budget for Canelai. We have no allocation for Canelai, unfortunately.
Okay, so this $550,000 is for the whole department?
It's for the whole department a month. From January until now is what I've been allocated, including this month. I've been given this lot. And sometimes when you buy animal feed for every other month, that is, if I buy in January, I will have to leave February and March. But then we also devise some means of picking up carcasses. That is, if wherever we can find dead animals, we come and feed hyenas with that. Because it's expensive to keep animals in captivity. For example, we have about over a dozen hyenas in Nabucco. In monetary terms, feeding them in a year would constitute little more than $10 million. That is, a hyena would consume about 5 kg of raw meat, fresh or rotten, a day. If you buy that one at $285 per kilo, multiply that by 5, by 30, by 360 would give you something like over $10 million. But what we are doing, we are relying on feasibility from other sources too. When Food Safety or National Environment Agency condemn some chicken from here, we liaise with them to this condemned chicken, then we transport them to Canelai to feed these cocks, because hyenas don't eat chicken. But this has also some drawbacks. I think you are aware last year or year before, Mankajang was talking about locking up Director of Parks and Wildlife Management because some condemned chicken was brought to Abuko, at least for transporting, or not transporting to Canelai. So we've been invaded by communities who are zipping this and crates of these chicken legs from us and go and sell it. So similarly, when you go to Canelai, probably this will be off the cuff. If with your permission, Mr. Chair, if you don't take note of what I'm going to say. Yeah?
You're on camera and then
the
whole host is sitting down here.
No,
So
sorry.
if there is something not for the public,
Yeah.
we can wait later, you can tell us.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
But this is what we are doing, at least, which is also good in helping to maintain this animal, because Janneh was a powerful person, he has a lot of resources, but for us, we don't have any resources. So feeding these cocks is a challenge. Over 500 or maybe over 400 crocodiles, keeping them on daily basis is difficult. But even in the wild, not every day that you feed. Sometimes it may take you 3-4 days for these animals to get food to eat. And to eat to satisfaction is always a challenge. Even like us at home, sometimes feeding every mouth in your household, it is always a problem. So this is a challenge for us. This is why we are also working with Gambia Horse and Donkey, who are also helping, aiding and abetting us in feeding these animals. And this is why these animals are still alive. If not, they would have all been dead by now. Those in captivity. That's the hyenas and the crocs. But for zebras and others, they are on free range, they are grazers. Once there is grass, they will eat. And once there is shrubs, they will browse.
Thank you. Can you tell us more about the relationship between the Department of Parks and Wildlife and the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust with regards to the Canelai game park?
It is the connection we have with the Gambia Horse and Donkey, because the owner or the director is the daughter of Mr. Bua. Mr. Bua was the first director of forestry, wildlife, and agriculture in this country. So it's because of that relationship, we've asked her to be helping us, looking after these animals for us. 2 aspects, that is feeding, number 3, feeding, training of the rangers, and number 3, looking at the veterinary aspects of this, because we don't have a vet. And they are specialists in animal husbandry, so they will help us to look at the veterinary aspect of these animals. And that has really yielded a lot of dividends. And because of this, Gambia government should give them a big applause for helping us keeping these animals alive until I'm making this statement today.
Thank you for that recommendation. I'm sure the government is watching. Moving on, can you confirm, you've already stated that you never received any communication with regards to the court order, either from your line ministry, the attorney, or the Attorney General's chambers. After the establishment of the commission, was there at any point where the commission contacted the department regarding the wildlife?
No, ma'am, nobody ever contacted us from the Janneh Commission.
From your statement, sorry, before we move to, I want to guide you to a paragraph in your statement, but before we move to that, since 2017, has any personnel or any official from the government of the Gambia kept in touch with the department with regards to the wildlife to seek for information, updates, or anything?
No, except TRRC. Except TRRC, we've been approached by agents or investigators from TRRC to find out if they can drain these crocodile pools based on information that some human remains have been given the crocs to feed. But I advise them we don't have that capacity to do that, one. Two, I'm not going to advise them to drain the crocodiles, because if they do, they will scatter and getting them back will be difficult. We don't have the means, when we don't have the capacity to do that. I advise them to maybe employ an underground drone, underwater drone, to look at if they find any bone fragments on the basement of these pools. They can extract them and send them to maybe Belgium or UK to do forensic analysis to know whether if the DNA could confirm they are human or otherwise. As far as I'm concerned, that's the only thing we have with TRRC. And they went there and came back and they heeded our advice.
So the TRRC did employ a drone to look into the depths of the pool?
No, they never did.
They never did?
No, they just went to they just went there, look at the feasibility and came back, because nobody wanted to come near those crocs.
Very well. Please go to paragraph 11 of your statement. Are you there?
Yes.
Within the paragraph, you stated that soldiers collect visitor fees, but the department has no involvement in the revenue collection process.
Yeah, that's correct.
How did the department learn about this?
Yeah, this is based on our staff on the ground there. Since we don't have any ownership of the place, we cannot do any revenue collection from the place, because if you do, we would have asked the accountant general to issue us tickets, and we'll be selling those tickets in there. But since we don't know who owns the Canelai, the ownership has not been decided, or not to our knowledge, so we are constrained to do that, to collect any revenue on behalf of the department or government of the Gambia.
Has this ever been communicated to your line ministry?
That
Regarding the ownership of the game park, but as well as the collection of fees?
The collection of fees was never communicated to our line ministry, but we've been subsequently been discussing this at the senior management level for the ministry to take up this matter with Attorney General to establish the ownership of Canelai, so that whether we can enter into a form of PPP, that's the public-private partnership with private investors in managing Canelai.
How soon does the department plan on working on this?
We will have to, I have to discuss with my supervisor, which is the permanent secretary, to try to see what we can do, because the game park and the military camp is one and the same.
So you can continue.
I mean, the game park and the military camp is one and the same, so that may require interministerial committee try to establish and see what is the way forward for Canelai game park, either to separate it from the military camp or otherwise.
Thank you. Mr. Kasama, I don't know whether you've been following the sittings of this committee, but our third witness, Mr. Kurang, was the secretary to the Janneh Commission, and the commission had taken the initiative to visit different sites where assets of the former president are, and that included Canelai.
Right.
According to Mr. Kurang, from his numerous visits to Canelai, the only wildlife that he has come across was one hyena. No zebras, and of course the crocodile pool was there, but also not this Derby eland that is mentioned in your statement. The commission started its visits to the Canelai Game Park in 2017. So can you please provide some clarity as to why this is the case, and is it possible that one can visit Canelai and not find the zebras and the Derby eland?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier on, those in captivity, like the hyenas, if he goes to the hyenas, then he would have seen the hyenas in there, because they are still there, and they were there since Janneh left. So I don't know why or how he came to miss about that. And the Derby eland and the zebras are in the free range in the park proper. They were there and they are still there. Even if you go there tomorrow, you'll find them there.
So if the committee decides to take a visit, we will find 3 hyenas, we will find 2 Derby elands and 16 zebras.
Yeah, even if you want to go there tomorrow, you'll find them.
Very well. Mr. Kasama, is there a possibility that there are wild animals that escaped the game park before the Department of Parks and Wildlife took over custody of the animals?
I cannot say anything on that because I have no information on that.
Very well. So since 2017, there has only been 2 pythons.
Yes, they never breed.
They never breed.
Yeah, unfortunately, because sometimes wild animals, if you constrain their environment, that will have an environmental effect on them. Naturally, they will not breed. And if the species are subspecies of one another, they may not be able to mate.
Very well. Thank you very much for all the information that you've given us here. Honorable Chair, that is all from the legal team.
Thank you, Mr. Kasama, for providing those very important information for the committee. I think we'll proceed. My colleagues, if you have any questions for clarity, would you? You don't have? Okay, you can go ahead, Honorable Sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kasama. I only have a few things that I want clarity on. That's number 5. I don't know any venue of or park that has wild animals belonging to the former President Janneh. Can you please explain, because it's like you mentioned that you're having hyenas and other animals that are of importance, but you are saying that you have no venue also. What's happened? What's the problem? Can you explain more?
No, what we mean by that in my statement, this is only Canelai Game Park where Janneh had animals and keeping animals there. So other than that, there's no other place in the country where I authoritatively know Janneh was keeping wild animals. That's what I meant by that was the only venue where wild animals are kept by Janneh.
And the other thing, issue of ownership. With regards to the issue of ownership, you mentioned that up till now you can identify or qualify who owns the park. So my question is, before you go into Canelai, The TRS, I mean, the Janneh Commission, did they inform you about the park in Canelai, and also were you able to ask them about the issue of ownership?
Unfortunately, we had zero contact from Janneh Commission. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Now, the statutory employees that are currently working for you, as you already mentioned, they are currently working for you. Now the park, you know, there is no ownership on with regards when it comes to the park, there is no ownership. And you are going to employ staff. Under what condition are you employing them? Is it that they are temporarily working to keep those animals, or are they working because of the men that you as a wildlife director, the park is still under control?
What we did and what I mentioned earlier on, wild animals anywhere in the country are like my own children. And these animals there, since the ownership is yet to be decided, what I decided was the smart move was keeping this staff there, giving them some sort of formal employment before they will all leave for pasture and new. If that happens, means the animals will die. So until that time, this is why we have decided to give them that temporary appointment to be at Canelai Game Park. If today government decide to sell these animals to Mr. X or Mr. Y or cede this park to someone else, then we'll have to move our staff to other areas where they are needed. But just because keeping this animal to make sure that they are still alive, this is why we have taken initiative to employ them, because they have the institutional memory of Canelai Game Park, because they are there for several years. So it only makes sense that we do that. That's the wise thing that we could do under the circumstance.
You made mention about the association called Donkeys and Horses, association owned by the daughter of the former owner of Abukunagi Reserve. Who contacted them? Were you asked by Janneh Commission to contact them, or you contacted them on your own? Who initiated the contact?
I initiated the contact on my own volition as the director of wildlife, because I've been working with them and I'm quite familiar with the NGO and what their portfolio is. And precisely based on this, that's why I've used my direct connection to contact them to help us to train and to provide these animals with veterinary services, because that's important. Like human beings, if you don't have a doctor to look after you, anytime you are attacked by a disease or any other thing, you become quite vulnerable.
So it's correct that you came up with the idea, not the commission?
No. The commission, I've seen someone's testimony.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's inaccurate.
This is why I'm asking, because someone testified here that they contacted them for them to assist them. So which is why I'm bringing the question back to you, whether you are the one who initiated everything, not them.
I think that was an inaccurate information from the commission. I contacted them. In fact, the people who they train, two of them stayed with the horse and donkey. Probably they offer better incentive than us. They are still employed with horse and donkey. But all those who I was able to persuade to return after their basic training in animal husbandry are still with us. So it was not the commission, it is the Department of Parks and Wildlife and my humble self who contacted horse and donkey.
And when it comes to the issue of collecting fees, on whose behalf are they collecting these fees for?
To be honest, I don't know.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kasano. My question would begin with paragraph M of your statement. Where you stated that a budget of $550,000 was submitted for support on feed. However, you were only able to receive $250,000 to feed the animals for a period of 1 month. What really influenced those figures when your department don't really have an inventory of the animals that were within the park?
Thank you, Honorable. I think I need to do a little bit more on this for you to understand what exactly I meant. This is the 550 is my monthly allocation from Minister of Finance for Department of Parks and Wildlife Management. I was just quoting an example of animal feed that we are doing at Abuko, not for Canelai. We have zero budget allocation for Canelai, and this 250, I was giving an example, if you are giving 550,000, you've taken 250 out of this for animal feed for 1 month. Every other month is what we have. That was the example I was saying, based on the resource constraint that we are incapacitated to feed Canelai game as of now, based on the allocation that we are having. That's what I was trying to explain, and that's exactly what this paragraph refers. But it doesn't mean that the 250 was based on inventory of animals in Canelai or any other thing.
Okay, that is clear. What I'm just trying to establish here is because, for example, if you are given a responsibility,
right,
to take care of such animals, you must be also supported with a budget. My question is, on monthly basis, how much were you spending as a department to feed those animals at the game park in Canelai?
$0.
So how do you feed them if it is $0?
We subsidize what they are feeding on. As I mentioned earlier on, sometimes when we have animal feed for Abuko, sometimes we collect carcasses from the abattoir. These are the things that we normally transport to Canelai, and from the condemned chicken legs or condemned chicken from food safety and from National Environment Agency, we use this as a supplementary feed. However, the rangers in Canelai too, they will all the time work to look at if we have dead animals around that area, they will go and pick them up, come and feed these animals. This is a challenge for me, this is a challenge for my discernment, and it's taking a lot of toll on our local resources that we are having. But I don't have any allocation to feed animals in Canelai. I'm only using what I'm using in Abuko as a supplementary to feed those in Canelai.
So in a nutshell, it was $0 in terms of feeding the wildlife in Canelai.
That's correct.
All right. Moving forward, Mr. Kasam, you said you were familiar with the game park in Canelai prior to Janneh's departure.
Right.
Right? During this period, what kind of species were you familiar with? Or do your department have a stock of the different types of species that exist at the game park in Canelai before Janneh's departure?
Unfortunately not. What we have is those in captivity. That is the hyenas, the snake, the zebras are there if you go into the game park. The Derby eland is there if you go into the game park proper. And the ostrich are in there, but we've never taken stock of this because access to information around the time is difficult, like for us and for anybody else.
Mr. Gassam, it's good that you said then you found few zebras, few hyenas, and all not. Can you be specific to tell us the specific numbers that were found in that game park prior to Janneh's departure?
I wouldn't know. I don't know the index. I don't know the number at the time prior to Janneh's departure. It's only after his departure that we are able to access to do these few counts.
Okay, Mr. Gassam, let's look at the management of the game park itself. In paragraph 7, you said your department were responsible for the species in terms of managing them, but the park itself was not managed by your department. What was the rationale behind that action?
That is, our main focus was the survival of the species in captivity. That's a key component of our action, and beyond that is looking at these species of free range, that is the zebras and the Derby eland. And unfortunately, we don't have resources like to be patrolling every single day on motorable, or on either on motorbike or with a vehicle. But they do a lot of patrols on foot to look at the safety of these animal species in Canelai.
Mr. Kasam, what is your take as the Director of Wildlife as per the court order from the Janneh Commission, aside from getting a formal communication either from the Janneh Commission or from the Ministry of Justice?
I don't understand. Can you repeat the question, please?
My question is, with the court order, I think I can refer you to 5A. Your Ministry of Justice, 5A. Yeah, the order. Yes.
Yeah. I have it here too.
Which was dated way back in 2017, right? My question is, what were your specific actions in executing that court order, even though you said the order was not formally communicated to your office? Let's assume, since it wasn't communicated to your office, were you privileged to know from anywhere as to what the court order stated or linking your department to the court order in terms of managing the species at the game park in Canelai?
Unfortunately not. I wish we had the court order formally or communicated to us, then it would have been a different ball game by now. But unfortunately, we never received any court order. We were never aware of any court order from relating to this paragraph 5 you're talking about. It's the first time that I'm seeing this, and the first time I heard about this was this last Thursday.
Okay, that will lead me to another question which may not have any connection to the wildlife we're talking about, because I think I was privileged to 1 or 2 communications with regards to Tanje Bird Reserve.
Yes.
And one of the bases you were relying on was the recommendations made by the Janneh Commission that the specific park should be managed by Department of Wildlife. My question is, how were you privileged to know about the recommendations of the Janneh Commission without being privileged to know about the court order?
These are 2 different things altogether. Beg your pardon, Honorable Member. Tanje Bird Reserve was established by Department of Parks and Wildlife Management. Canelai Game Park was established by Janneh, not us. We have no information how it came about. Naturally, if we are to establish a national park, what we do is we do series of studies first. We do baseline data collection. We look at the socioeconomics. We look at the demographic. We look at the ownership and so forth about why the rationale to declare that place as a national park. And it goes through a lot of formal processes, eventually coming down to National Assembly here before it had been assented to. But for Canelai Game Park, that was not the case.
I understand from the angle you are speaking from. My question is, was there at any instance that you were relying on the Janneh Commission's recommendation in terms of getting that reserve to be managed by your department?
Which reserve?
Tanje.
Yeah, I think if you look at the aspect of Tanje Bird Reserve, is just a portion. It's just a portion of Tanje Bar Reserve that was allocated to Lauren Bagbo or his wife either, and eventually it has been taken away from them and ceded to Canelai Game Park. But I'm not sure whether it's subject of this commission or whether it's of any relevance, because right now you can know that I've been taking a lot of heat from different investors about that particular place and the old efforts that have done so that that place still remains under the auspices of Department of Parks and Wildlife Management, for the records.
What I'm trying to establish here is, are you telling us that you have more interest on Tanje Reserve than Canelai Game Park as instructed by the court orders?
I've not seen any court orders to Canelai Game Park, but Tanje is our property there. It has not been taken away. Just a portion was taken away and the portion was returned, was asked to be returned to us. So that is the difference between the two.
A very final one and a very short one, and that will lead us to paragraph 4. And I read with your permission, Chair. You said, nevertheless, my office has made repeated requests for clarification on the legal status of Canelai Game Park, which have gone unanswered, likely due to political sensitivity surrounding the matter. Thus, without legal clarity, we are unable to conduct a full and proper inventory of the park. You know, as a parliament, we cannot speculate. So as such, my question is, do you have evidence of these communications at your disposal, seeking for clarity?
This is, we've done this one at the level of our ministry because, you know, under the law, I'm constrained to be writing to Attorney General's chambers asking clarity on this. I have to do it through my parent ministry, and they will formally communicate this one to the Attorney General. We have discussed this one at a senior management level at the ministry for us to get clarity on Canelai in moving forward, because it's important. Some investors, some people were said they'll be interested in managing that game park. But we've been mentioned this, I think in 2017, 2018, up to around 2019 about this, but still you couldn't get anything clear on Canelai Game Park.
Yeah, Mr. Kasama, you know, if you look at your statement, you have been very straightforward here by saying my office has made. So as such, we will expect you to provide this committee with evidence of communication with regards to this subject matter. That will help, whether it was done by the ministry or so, but as long as you sat in a management committee where such is discussed, it will be prudent or important to the committee if we can have minutes of that meeting, and if possible, the letters that were sent in seeking clarity. Chair, with your permission, please.
Consult the minutes of those meetings, and if I see one, certainly I'll provide this. I'll be happy to provide this committee with.
All right, thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Kasama. Council, do you have any further thing to clarify before?
Yes, Honorable Chair, just 2 more questions. Mr. Kasama, in your testimony, you mentioned that prior to, you mentioned that when President Janneh was around, there were ostriches at Canelai. But then after he left, you did not find these ostriches there anymore. Do you know what happened to these animals?
Unfortunately, no, ma'am.
Did the department ever try to investigate to find out what happened to them?
We never did, to be honest.
Okay. Part of the mandate of this committee is to make recommendations on how to remedy the aftermath of the Janneh Commission, and as well as to make preventative measures. So therefore, we would like to solicit from you information as to how the Department of Parks and Wildlife can be supported, but also if there's any documentation, any information you believe that will be relevant to the work of this committee, we implore you to submit same to the records department of the National Assembly, addressed to the clerk or the chair of the committee.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll be happy to do that.
So just to confirm before we leave, does the department have any information that is relevant to this committee? Documentation that you believe is relevant to the work of this committee?
No, we don't.
You don't?
No.
Very well. Thank you. That is all, Honorable Chair.
All right, one for clarification or question from my colleague.
Just a very final one. Mr. Kasama, in your testimony, you said you were not aware of any court order. My follow-up question is, how do you manage to participate in the entire process? Where do you get that authority from?
Entire process of what?
Of managing the wildlife at the game park in Canelai. Because you did mention that you have some of your staffs working there.
I don't know, maybe from the beginning whether you were around or you are not following me up properly. What I said was, when I heard that the animals, some animals are having issues of feeding their staff in Canelai, I have taken it upon myself as the Director of Parks and Wildlife because I see these animals as my own children. I went there to check and see, to confirm what is happening, and it's based on this that I have contacted, first I've contacted Horse and Donkey to be helping us to look after these animals because they were hopeless. There was nobody who was feeding them, and where are they getting feed from? To establish that one, we've tried to establish the little food that we can get, because Horse and Donkey deals with donkeys and so forth and so forth. So anytime we have carcass there, and from our end, these are the pieces that we put together, we provide transport, fuel, and take it to kill these animals. But since I know that this may be a long process because it involves a lot of legal issues, and legal issues take a lot of time to settle, then I have decided that the smartest move was we look at how many people we are looking after these animals. We try to establish the one first.
Yeah, I think I got my answer. It's not about whether I was here or not. What I'm trying to clarify here, which you have given us, that is to say, your participation, that is your department participation at the game park in Canelai was on a personal discretion.
Yes.
Not influenced by the court order.
No, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gassan, for coming. I have no questions for you today. However, we appreciate your appearance to give a testimony regarding your department's involvement in this whole process. Without wasting more time, I think we will have to release you to go. But of course, like the council said, you made mention that you don't have any document at your disposal that is relevant to the work of this committee.
No.
We will still employ you. Perhaps even if you go back and then we've seen any document that you think is important for us, please do get in contact with us so that we can get those informations from you. I think is relevant, huh?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so very much. So you...
And we will also be happy anytime you want to schedule a visit there, you contact me. Then my staff would be helping you to access to these animals and see everything in there.
Exactly. So one of the things also I think the member requested, if possibly you have any access to the minutes of those meetings, perhaps you can also provide a copy for this committee, just for clarity. That'll be important, huh?
I will check.
Yes, we will work on that. We will discuss among ourselves to see if there is any possibility for us to visit. We will do, and then familiarize ourselves with what is happening there. Thank you so very much. You are released for now, and meeting will be adjourned for today until tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. We will proceed. Thank you so very much, Council.